Hello and welcome to Best Trends. Today we'll be going over top 6 Rusty Cage albums. What is going on, everyone? It's your boy, Best Trends. I can't think of any other name. Today I'm going to be ranking all of the Rusty Cage albums, all the way from Volume 1 up to Stalkers now. And I'll be including the other albums that he's released, but the one exception that I'm making is going to be Age of Outrage, since that was 2 songs that are in a different album. So, you know what, anyways, I feel like it's just time to get right into the video. But first, I'm going to talk about a bit of an honorable mention. Not really, because it's kind of last place. So, yeah, let's get right to that. So the honorable mention for today is going to be... Yeah, it's the Knife Game song. The Knife Game album, honestly, even though they're all Knife Game songs, Rusty's still pretty good at making music sound good. And I'm a huge sucker for making songs that sound like kids' songs, really dark, which is, you know, pretty fun. But I only really listen to like 2 of the Knife Game songs regularly, and all the rest are really just there whenever I'm going through like Spotify or something and I'm just listening to all the albums. But anyways, yeah, the dishonorable mention, I guess, would be the Knife Game song album, because it's just Knife Game. On to real music. Yeah, so Heretics really was not my favorite album from Rusty Cage, and there are good songs in it. There are some songs that I would even consider being my favorite Rusty Cage songs, but most of this album really isn't that good. It's not for me. Songs like Modern World and All the Fish Will Be Floating are really songs that I can sometimes bop to, but other times it's just dead. Whenever I'm skipping songs, if it's not a Knife Game song, I usually tend to skip songs in this album. But despite that, it still has some pretty good songs. Spare a Dime is one of my favorite songs of Rusty Cage. So is Requiem of the Crazies. But my favorite song from this album would have to be Shame, which is of course the song that you're listening to right now. But anyways, I think that's all I have to say for Heretics, and on to number 4 on our list. Yeah, Rusty Cage Volume 1, also not one of my favorite albums. Now, of course, it has more songs that I would listen to, and I skip less when I get on this album, but it still has a few songs that I just always skip. And this really does seem like a first album from somebody, and it's a good first album, but it's not better than the other works that he's made in the future, except for the Knife Game songs. This album does have some of my other favorites from Rusty Cage, like Gospel and I Wish I Had a Wish. And that little experimental poem, The Day the Earth Turned Upside Down, I thought was really great, and I listened to it a lot more than I should. My favorite song of this album is Poor Narrator, which is the one that you're probably listening to right now. But anyways, now that we're done with Rusty Cage Volume 1, let's get on to number 3. The Human Centipede. Yeah, so Rusty Cage's album, Really Stupid Dumb Things That I Made, is hilarious. It is one of the funniest albums I've ever heard. But as I said earlier, I'm a sucker for songs that sound like kids songs but are actually like really dark, and so many of the songs on this album are just great. Plus, this is one album that he's actually actively updating on his SoundCloud, which is pretty nice. But I think the best moment of my life happened with this album. So I was just solving, like normal, because I'm always solving, and I was listening to this album because I was like, why not? It was the first time I heard this album. And then I hear a fun little, you know, piano tune. You know, it's pretty nice. And then, first word spoken. The Human Centipede. I can probably say that that is the funniest moment of my entire life, which is great for the album. And the other songs are pretty good too. Despite my statement about The Human Centipede being the funniest song, I feel like the best song in this album, in my opinion, would be Everybody I Don't Like Is Literally Hitler, because it's just funny. It's just great. But anyways, on to number 2. human centipede. Yeah, Stalkers is a really good album. Like, his latest album is really, really good. Along with those happy sounding songs, I'm also a huge sucker for folk music and a little bit of rock, but this album is perfect. Well, not exactly perfect. There's like one song that I tend to skip in this album. That one song is Ricky McCoy. But as for the rest of the songs in this album, they're amazing. They are actually the best. Like, don't even... This cover that I'm doing right now does not at all reflect the original version of this song. So please go back and just listen to this album on like Spotify or something, or maybe buy the album. It's great. And of course, it has a cover of Gospel from his first album at the end of this one, which I think was perfect. I think it was great. And I'm not sure what else to say about Stalkers other than it's a pretty great album. My favorite song in this album is really tied between two. It's either the final voyage of the Whalers Essex or his cover of Gospel. But either song that it is, it's still a great album. All of the songs are almost at the level of my two favorites. But it's not number one. So why don't we see what number one is? Crowley. Oh, Crowley is such a good album. This is the one album from Rusty Cage that I can say I will never skip a song from. Originally, some of the slower songs, like maybe Ain't the Man, weren't really my favorites, but nowadays, they are really high up on my favorites list. If I were to compile a top 10 list of my favorite Rusty Cage songs, more than half of them would be coming from Crowley. This is a great mix of a ton of different genres of music. There's some electronic, there's some folk, there's some rock, and the way that Rusty raps in songs like Lies of Flies is just different, and it's new, and it's something that I've never heard before from another singer. And the reason that I wouldn't include Age of Outrage is because that would be my number one, because those two songs are my favorite songs in this. But if I was to choose between the two, I'd probably say that Bone to Pick is my favorite song from this album, with the close second being What They Said. Crowley was really an album that I could tell Rusty was at his top, at the top of his game, trying his best. So anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. It's a pretty short one today. Actually, I'm not really sure how short it'd be, but I'm assuming it's short. Link to a bunch of Rusty Cage stuff in the description. He's on Apple Music, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play. And I'd really recommend Rusty Cage as an artist in general. Now, this is kind of biased since he's my favorite artist, but I can assure you that his music is very high quality, and he's really good at just making songs. But anyways, that's about it. Maybe one day I could make another one of these about a different artist. Yeah, you already know what it's gonna be about. Thanks for watching, and bye.